Hey everybody, the question is, are Seven Wonders Duel expansions worth it? I just did a video talking about is the Pantheon expansion worth it, right? Because that Pantheon expansion came out in 2016. People played it for a while and they chose if they wanted to go stay with vanilla or they wanted to go with Pantheon, vanilla being without the base or with just the base game and no expansions. Seven Wonders Duel Agora comes out way later. And we get a pretty cool political victory that comes from it and a fix of a mechanism with the first player winning. First player getting to choose who goes first in the next stage, a lot of the times, just by using one single extra return wonder. So this is a talk about, are both expansions worth it? So I got Seven Wonders Duel some days ago. I have already a lot of playtime. I was wondering if the expansions are worth it and if combining both of them is a good idea. I think it's a good idea. This is me. I think so. I would like the game to be more complex, but I'm not sure if the way to go is choosing one out of the expansions or adding both. All right. I've tested all the combinations of the Seven Wonders Duel and have played a lot of games, this person says 4 months ago. Pantheon changes some things for good, but I hate that they remove the guilds, and temples are boring in my opinion. Oh, I disagree. I really like that they remove the guilds. I'm fine if they add the guilds later on for like a third expansion, or maybe a wonder that grabs the guilds. That would be cool. I think we need to add a wonder to the next expansion that brings the guilds back in potentially. Maybe draw 3 guilds face down, and then you get to keep one of them. Like basically a great library for progress instead of progress tokens for guild cards. And then it'd be a random draw of like how many points could I earn from this. Yeah. And you could know which guilds are not coming out in the third age, because if you build it in the second age or earlier, then you get to draw 3 and you know all 3 of those are not coming out in age 3. You keep one of them, and you know what'd be cool? You keep it and you put it face down, and then at the end of the game, you don't know who's going to win based on a calculation of the points. Like, say you're about to take the last card, of 2 or 3 cards that are in the pyramid, and somebody says, "Stop! Hold on! Let me calculate the points to see who's going to actually win this game." And you say, "Okay, come on, you can't do that." You say, no, I can, because turn time is unlimited in Seven Wonders Duel. That's the rules. So they check all the points everywhere possible. They say, "Oh, don't forget the points from math. That's going to be 3 points per progress token." Whoa! Astarte. That's 7 points for that goddess, because you didn't use the coins that were on Astarte. So 7 points there. You look at all the different points. You're almost done, and they say, "Whoa! Divide the 3 coins. Every 3 coins you have gives 1 point. All right, now tell me what you got." Well, I had 16 coins, so that's 5 points. Um, yeah, okay, so add everything all together. All right, now I already know who's going to win. Thanks. I'll take this card, you take that card, and then I take this card. Okay, and then now we know who won, but that's coming down to points. So you already know what's going to happen 3 turns before the end of the game, but you still have to play the last 3 turns. Yeah, but what's cool, what would be very cool, is if somebody made some cool wonder that just like use those guild cards. What a crazy tangent. All right, 4 minutes into this video, but I was dropping some truths there, right? So why I like that they removed the guilds is those are very swingy. They're like a end game goal card in Wingspan, where it could be worth 0 points, it could be worth 12 points. You're not exactly sure. Likely they're probably going to be worth 3 to 6 points, but you never know. And sometimes those Wingspan end gold cards or the Moneylender's gold card, particularly guild card, going back to Seven Wonders Duel, that can really score you a crazy amount of points with Moneylender's Guild if at the end of the game somebody's got like 50 coins, right? All right, so So this extension adds a lot more aggressive solutions in the game, which is not for everyone, they're saying. But I like that they removed the guilds. I really feel strongly about this because now it's just 5, 7, or 9 points um, per temple, grand temple that you get. Your first one's 5 points, your second one's an additional 7, and then add 9 to that. 21 whole points when you add them all up together. That's just that's a huge jump in a game that average scores are around like you know 60 to 80 points. Like you're going to have somebody score 20 points, like a third of those points, 21 points, from grabbing all three temples. You made a big mistake letting them take all three temples. So it's just like kind of another pseudo win condition in the game. I know the real win conditions are science, military, and then just end the game in points. But a subset of those points is if somebody really crushes you going into age 3 in Monopoly, like they just like make it so you're gonna have to spend way too many points to get or coins in points to get more points, then you've crushed them already there, and you could just pack up the game you won in Monopoly. Similarly, if somebody if the other two win conditions are not possible, game could end in points, and if somebody just takes all three grand temples, then that's almost a you could pack up the game and call it because military and science are not going to happen and they just grabbed 21 whole points from only 3 cards. That's legit. I mean, how did the rest of their cards do? Did they just get 1 point per card for the rest of the cards? Probably they were smart and they did all right with the rest of the cards. So, but if they weren't, then yeah, they're not going to win. Agora is fun, but a bit fiddly, and I like the fact that it extends the card pyramid, which makes for a more blended in experience. Ultimately, I prefer the base game alone. It makes for a much more tighter experience and shines when both players are, I think they mean experienced. All right. So, fun but fiddly for Agora, and it extends the card pyramid, which makes for more blended experience. Yeah, it extends the card pyramid. The backs of the cards are different colors, which we've seen with the temples or the guild cards. That makes the game so that you can predict things a little bit better. You know that the card that's being flipped up won't be a military card, won't be a science card. So you can safely allow that one to be flipped up if you're worried about one of those ends to the game. Similarly, if you flip up one of the senators, then could be a politician, could be a corrupt, one of the other ones, and they could you know that likely that's not going to be something that's going to help them with the military, and likely that's not going to be something that's going to help them with science. So it does add a little bit more blended in experience. What do they mean by blended in? Because that's what I take from blended in. A little bit more feeling safe in the flip. That couldn't be what they mean by that. They mean blended in experience. Well, to help, it's an odd number of cards, 5, 5, and 3, for H1, H2, and then H3 of these, not politicians, these senator cards that you're adding in. So that is going to offset the structure so that the second player has an advantage. Hmm. Blended in. Blended in experience, as in the first player doesn't always win. It's kind of more blended. Second player gets a little bit of some balance. All right, I agree with the sentiment 100%. I by no means dislike either expansion, but I do find myself playing regular OG the most. I can play OG Seven Wonders Duel in probably 30 minutes, which is what I'm looking for. Adding expansion adds time. That is true to setup and playtime. But if I'm in the mood for a longer game, I tend to want something to play something else. That is the tough thing about adding expansions for a game. If it adds extra time to the game, and very often an expansion will add time to a game in setup or playtime, and in this case, it is true that it does for both. But I'm telling you, it's such a worthwhile experience. But yes, that is a fear for any expansion other than maybe Seven Wonders or Terraforming Mars' Prelude expansion, which decreases time to play the game. Yeah, this expansion in particular, it's time to the game. And if you don't love Seven Wonders Duel, you may think, well, I've got, but this guy says he can finish in 30 minutes. Oftentimes I'm recording a video for this channel and I'm like, all right, do I want to play vanilla or do I want to play with Pantheon? I have 30 minutes. Most games on vanilla are going to take 20 minutes, so I can do that. But if I add Pantheon, that's going to be the full 30 minutes. And if it's a long game, then I'm going to break my suspense. And so, yeah, it adds a whole like it doubles the time, or not doubles it, like it adds 50% of the time. And then adding Agora as well, that's difficult as well too. So, yes, playtime is a factor. Seven Wonders Duel, 30 minutes. I've got 1 hour plus. Then play something heavier. If I've got more time, why am I going to play this simple game, Seven Wonders Duel? I'd rather something heavier. Not me personally. I'm owner of this channel. I would much rather play Seven Wonders Duel than a heavier game and deal with, um, you know, like a simpler game because I don't feel like Agora and Pantheon is too simple. I feel like vanilla is the simple way, but I think the game just opens up so much so that I don't want to play something heavier. That is my heavy go to. And there's something beautiful about the simplicity of these additions of Agora and Pantheon to a game. I don't mind the extra time. If it does play an hour, like they're saying that it does, yeah. Or two, they say, or even play 2 games of the base game of Seven Wonders Duel. Yeah, I disagree strongly. It's such a great experience to add the expansions. It is such a more richer experience to play. And I feel like there's balance issues that Agora fixes. I feel like there's some fun issues that Pantheon fixes. So, yeah, I would say that the best way to play is with both expansions. Um, that's going to be my verdict on this. I'll read a couple more here. So they say any two-player board game recommendations. I find Seven Wonders Duel being the best, regardless of playtime. This person says, and nobody responded to them. Well, I'll respond. Just kidding. I'm not logged in. But any other two-player board game recommendations? Sure, I'll throw one out there. There's a CIA Cold War, very good two-player game. Um, yeah, do that one. That's a really great two-player. I don't know if it's if you like Seven Wonders Duel, you'll like that one, but it's a very thinky one, and you're trying to get in the heads of your opponents. Patchwork's always a great two-player game. Seven or sorry, Codenames Duet. That's a cooperative two-player game. Really like that one. Anyhow, Pantheon is fantastic. Highly recommend it. Changes things up since you can delay interacting with the card structure, and I find that it enables science and military supremacy. That's true. Yeah, Pantheon's going to allow you to win more often with those. If the corresponding gods are available, of course. In my experience before the expansion, all games but one were merely decided by points. Now we see more science and military victories, though points still are the most likely outcome. Yeah, that's something I noticed about point victories. Sounds interesting that will kind of change. Okay. Science and military victories are not that rare. Must be the people you are playing with. Yeah, it always comes down to that. I really like the comments of people going who don't play on Board Game Arena when I talk to people who play this game, Seven Wonders, and they say, "Yeah, you never really win in military." I'm like, "Well, actually, it's like, hold on. There's reasons you would go for military, but it's complicated." Um, it's like don't grab the age one militaries. So probably somebody who did that. Like they tried it, they grabbed all the age one militaries, and then they were easily defended against in age two when there's some two shielders, and then they just lost the game to points. Yeah, and because they didn't have the resource backbone to be able to support the military at the end. Like points, you're gonna need resources. Military, yeah, kind of still do need resources quite a bit. Okay, and then science is where you can kind of be a cheapskate on those resources. So yeah, it there's so much nuance to that. I don't have time enough to explain that, but that was a little snippet in why science and military victories are not that rare. I played the game physical copy with my nephews, had them both playing it, set them down. This is like they're like age like at the time maybe 16 and 14 playing the game, and they're going back and forth, and as they take cards, I'm noticing that no militaries are being taken. It's all blue cards, and it's all blue cards and resources. Okay, so they just focused on resources, just focused on blue cards, and then the game just came down to getting the most points. And they would look at the amount of points grabbing a single military would do for them, and they'd be like, "That's just 2 points. There's no way I'm doing that. There's no way I would ever do that. All right, I'm gonna grab the 3 point blue card." It's like, okay, I see. Oh, yeah, pick the 3 points. Of course, it's free. And so that's age one, and that carried on for the rest of the game. And the military pawn pretty much stayed in the middle the whole game. Like I think they built a wonder that gave them points because they made Colossus free or something, and they evaluated that 3 points plus 2 points equaled better than another card they could grab, and they just everything was purely tactical based on points. Like tactical as in like I'm thinking one or maybe two turns ahead. Nothing strategic like, hey, this move that I choose in age two is going to affect age three. The very last couple cards, I'll be able to move the conflict pawn to the end, right? Military was completely ignored. Science was basically completely ignored. They got a progress token from the Great Library. But that was it. And that was just their experience. My nephew's playing it, and it was fascinating as a Seven Wonders Duel fanatic that I am. It's seeing them like really just tactically evaluate the game because that's what you kind of do, I guess, when you're learning the game. You're not going to think strategically 9 turns ahead, and especially in a game where you're just taking cards and then the next row of cards flips up, and then you're like, oh, new decisions. Okay, let's evaluate 1 or 2 turns ahead with these new decisions. And that's kind of how Seven Wonders Duel tends to be. Not so much thinking strategically in the beginning when you're learning it, and thus, if you're only thinking tactically, you're thinking min maxing your points, and going for science and military are not good for min maxing your points. A lot of times, if you're going for science and you fail, you're going to have a low point score. If you're going for military and you fail, you're going to have a low point score. Anyhow, new players are not going to have wins in science and military generally. All right, so I have only played with my girlfriend, and 7 of 10 times the game ends with points, and that's it looks like they've played quite a bit with their girlfriend because that's normal. Like I would say if you're if it's 90% of games, something's wrong with the meta there. But just vanilla, yeah, like 60% of your games should be one in points. That's fair. All right, so hey, before you buy them, test them on BGA and then the link for BGA. I personally don't like the expansions, but Pantheon is better than Agora. Is it? Um, Funness, I think Pantheon is better because I enjoy looking at like a whole rule book of gods and like imagining all the combos to them. But teaching a new player, maybe Agora is better. And then the new rules that come up are thrown on you with the route that you chose to go in the card. You've got the two different colors of senator cards, the black and the white ones, and the black senators they are going to give you they're the conspirators. They give you conspiracy cards, which you could totally not even play with the conspiracy cards and just use them as an influence cube somewhere. So you could do the whole game without doing this god card esque thing or this part of the game where you have to open up a rule book and learn a tableau of cards, right? Instead, Pantheon requires you to really learn what all the extra cards do, uh, the divinities. Now, So Pantheon wins in funness. Agora wins in that simplicity that you don't have to uh, work with the more complicated additions to of Agora. And Agora also wins with fixing the first player issue. What issue does Pantheon help fix? Pantheon helps fix the you take, I take, you take, I take, I know what how the game's going to end issue. However, Agora does a little bit help with that one too, if you interact with that complicated part of the game, the conspirators. All right. Maybe you will like them, maybe not. It's very personal. But this person is saying they don't like them, but they like Pantheon better than Agora. Yeah, I would say Pantheon wins in funness, Agora wins in the better expansion. All right. I don't think so. The simplicity of this game is my favorite way to play. Pantheon is a solid A. Agora is a B minus. Interesting. Pantheon fixes some of the major flaws of the base game. Agora adds more stuff, which is fine, but the additions are kind of superfluous. Highly disagree for the reasons I said above. It's fine, but I don't think it does much to move the needle. This person, I prefer playing with both expansions. Thank you. I loved the Pantheon. I hated Agora. Like, refused to play Agora. Okay, well, it is the better one. I do believe it's the better one. All right. I mean, it fixes a huge balance issue with the game, which is the first player is going to win more often. And I mean that's still maybe an issue with Agora, but I don't know. I feel like if you did 100 games of just Agora and 100 games of just Pantheon, Pantheon's going to have the first player winning more often than the just Agora. Add them both together, I think it's fixed. All right, so while I do love how Pantheon adds a skip option, I always found it too skewed towards the high income strategies. Yes, grabbing a bunch of yellow cards is so important to the Pantheon expansion, which is why I also really excel at the Pantheon expansion because that's my main go-to strategy. I don't like getting monopolied out, and I like to have an ability to just discard cards to get the coins that I need rather than oh man, I'm gonna have to pay 7 coins to buy this card that I really need. Then it's like, all right, well, we're not winning in points here, and we may run out of coins to be able to pursue whatever other strategies there are. No, actually, in Age 1, you grabbed 3 of the 4 yellow cards. Now you're set, and you can just discard, discard, discard. You don't have to buy the card for 7 coins. You can just discard, and you're going to get like 6+ coins. And because you've been grabbing a bunch of yellow cards since Age 1. And that could be useful for any of the strategies you're going for. You could grab some god cards with all those coins you're racking up. Yeah, High Gold is base 7 Wonders Duel is strong, but Pantheon, it feels like a must, or else you get left behind. Yeah, do not forget those yellow cards. I think a lot of people look at the yellow cards, they go, that's 3 whole coins, and then I still have to pay a coin for every single resource? No way, I'm not doing that. Sure, I'll take Tavern for 4 free coins, but yeah, I don't see the value in grabbing the wood reserve. Let me just grab 2 wood and call it good. Then I'm good with wood the rest of the game. Yeah, yeah, but you're not good with discarding the rest of the game. Like those 3 coins, you're gonna discard more than 3 coins or 3 times the rest of the game. So like the wood reserve is gonna really help you. You'd be better just take the wood reserve. Yes, Pantheon is good, but its specific strengths also in themselves and new weaknesses. Okay. One, like you said, the even more reliance on big money. Another one is being able to skip the Zugzwang removed one of the most important strategic elements of the base game. No, it just makes it so you have to strategically do something differently. You like the Zugzwang? I don't like it. All right, so I like it, this person says, but I understand why plenty prefer the game with neither expansion. Yeah, if the game comes down to like just a chess thing, like, all right, I'm gonna put you in Zugzwang where you have to do this, and then you have to do that, and you have to do that. Haha, I played your turns for you because if you didn't do those moves, then those were your whatever other moves you chose to do, those were dumb options. All right, Dad tier. Another option, which replaced Seven Wonders Duel altogether for us, is Lord of the Rings Duel. Whoa! I didn't expect Lord of the Rings Duel to come out with this one. This was just 4 months ago. So the 3 ways to win, including area control, a race, and unique symbols, is awesome. 10 replies on that one. Oh my goodness. Would you say it's better than Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon? Honestly, pretty similar experience between the two. They've taken elements of the full Seven Wonders Duel range and weaved them into the base game of Lord of the Rings Duel experience. My personal experience is Lord of the Rings flows more naturally as a more seamless integrated experience. They've done a great job of weaving the new elements into the core experience so it runs very smoothly. War track change to the map is a huge upgrade in my opinion. However, I feel they've lost a little of the flavor from Seven Wonders Duel. Vincent Dutrait is literally my favorite board game artist, so I'm surprised to be saying this, but I think the art on the Pantheon God cards and the original Wonders add a lot in terms of flavor to your experience that has been a little lost in the new game. Oh man, so hating on Vincent Dutrait's artwork? No, I like Vincent Dutrait's artwork, but I also like the old stuff, and it adds a lot of flavor to those God cards. Yeah, those are great. Those are great. The new art is lovely, but there aren't any big impactful components showing off the art in the same way. Yeah, it's more like just like a tapestry of Lord of the Rings art rather than like boom, Astarte like 9 whole points. Look at her. And then or sorry, not that was Aphrodite, but and then or doing like this like scary Mars, and he's just like got this helmet on and the eyes, and then the bottom just 2 giant shields. Like it's like whoa, like that. Yeah, the art explains the game almost. Like scary big guy, like that's war, and then like goddess of beauty, that's your points right there. Yeah. Okay. So I didn't feel like anything with that for Seven Wonders Duel as well. There wasn't a marriage of the art with the components. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about Lord of the Rings Duel. We're talking about which of the expansions is the better in the base game. So, but in a future video, I will compare the two for Lord of the Rings Duel and Seven Wonders Duel. So, this guy's saying Lord of the Rings Duel is marginally better, but both are great. Does anybody talk about the expansions? Seven Wonders Duel with Pantheon is definitely a little bit more interesting than Lord of the Rings Duel. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the ideas for Pantheon were incorporated into an expansion for Lord of the Rings Duel. I think they should incorporate some of the ideas for Agora into the expansion for Lord of the Rings Duel. All right, for me, it's worse, but yeah, YMMV, whatever that is. Oh, there are other players that don't like it. I was feeling kind of lonely. Uh, well, okay. I feel like if you like Seven Wonders, you probably are gonna like Seven Wonders Duel's like variant, the Lord of the Rings Duel. But does that mean you have to like it better because it's the newer game? No. All right, I like it, but kind of feels like a downgrade to me. I liked the cards in Seven Wonders Duel are more unique. The Lord of the Rings variants take that away a little bit. Yeah, there was some uniqueness of them, but don't forget the race cards and the race abilities of Lord of the Rings Duel. Those are very exciting, and the little monuments that you can buy from the different locations. Anyhow, all right, this person says, "We'll check this out. Thanks. It's a very similar game, but it introduces some subtle improvements. Whatever." All right, in my opinion, Lord of the Rings Duel took the majority of the ideas from both Seven Wonders Duel expansions, rolled them into an even more streamlined game. Little bit. With the race cards, you have 3 different race powers, and then you draw from the top of the 2. Pantheon already has that. We need to add some Agora stuff into Lord of the Rings Duel. The main downside of Pantheon is that it almost fits in the base game box without chucking the insert, but not quite. Okay. I think both are phenomenal additions. As most have commented, Pantheon is the preferred expansion. But don't let Agora fool you. It definitely adds more depth. I think we have hit the end of it. People are saying both are fantastic. In my opinion, this guy says Agora is way better. The political mechanisms in the Senate fit the ancient Rome theme, and it keeps the game tactical. The assassin and sabotage cards can surprise you, but way less than the gods in Pantheon do. Okay, it's way more in line with and fitting to the original game's vibes. Yeah, the Pantheon gods are gonna surprise you because you have to contend with them. Unless you get like a 10-minute primer of all the things, and nobody wants that, all the gods before you play the game. You're gonna get surprised by those Pantheon gods. So, all in all, let's go in here. What is the verdict here? So, we are going to say, of the two expansions, which one do we want? I think they are both 10 out of 10 expansions. Really love it. It brings a game that's 9.98, like my second or third best game that I own and love, to a 10. Just amazing game with all the combinations together. My favorite two-player game with all of them together. And really, you can't go wrong with buying both expansions and adding them to your collection. That is my verdict. You've heard the words of Reddit, and now you've heard my final thing. Summary: Pantheon makes it more fun, in my opinion. You need to do that 10-minute primer of all the gods. It fixes the Zug swing, fixes the I take you, take I take you, take I win. It fixes the or Pantheon fixes um, that, and Agora is going to fix the first player advantage. And then Agora does a little bit of a fix of the Zugzwang. And I do feel like Pantheon, in a way, especially with newer players, does a fix with the um, it does a fix with the first player advantage. But I've heard some experts better than me, as far as their elos go, say that Pantheon's even worse for the first player advantage. Which, okay, I have not been preaching that, but I guess it all comes down to that critical point at the end of age, at the end of age one, when whoever takes the last card gets the first turn in the next age. And if you have the first turn of two cards, maybe it's not that great. But when you have the first turn of two cards plus a bunch of gods, then the first player really can shine. So, okay, I could see why. If you're really experienced at the game, you already know the fact that you want to go into H2 with a bunch of coins so that you can take advantage of all those options. Otherwise, it is actually better for the second player with Pantheon. If both players come into the next stage with only 2 coins each, they can't grab any god cards. They need to start discarding H2 cards to be able to take advantage of that first player advantage. Right? If you're just building Piraeus, getting 0 coins from it, then you're just going a point strategy up the structure of H2 and might get enough coins later on down the line. So that was pretty specific for Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon, why it might fix the first player advantage issue for a new player. But if you know what you're doing, maybe the first player really has a huge advantage. Agora totally fixes the first player advantage. And the last thing I'll say is Agora might be the better game for newer players. And Pantheon would be it is the more fun expansion in my opinion, and it's the better game for people who are fine really getting into a lot more depth to the game. And also, if you don't mind hidden information and surprises, because everything's laid out on the table completely alive in Seven Wonders Duel Vanilla. In Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon, very little is hidden. You have a little bit of ways with the face down god cards, but throughout the game they start turning face up pretty quickly. Seven Wonders Duel Agora, you could keep face down conspiracy the whole rest of the game, and then finally at the very end flip it up and say, "Hey, I actually won the game." And lastly, Agora adds another cool victory, political victory, which makes it so winning in Age 1 is actually possible. Sure, Seven Wonders Duel is possible technically if the person lets you get Colossus and every single H1 military and doesn't defend at all, and you have a way to get 12 coins somehow, maybe using Temple of Artemis in H1. Yes, there's a really weird edge case where it's possible to win. I've mathed it out, but it's not practical. You're going to win in H2 or later with Seven Wonders Duel. You're going to win in H2 or later in Seven Wonders Duel Pantheon. You're going to win in age one if you're not if your opponent is not careful. You could win in age one very commonly in Seven Wonders Duel Agora. So that is exciting. That at any point in the game, you could just steal the game from them. Love it. So ultimate verdict: play with both. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.